Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. It's Tuesday, October 10th. It's our afternoon version. You saw this morning's version with Jesse and Sean Higgs. And now I'm back with the two veterans, Mr. Chip Chirimbes and Mr. Paul Bovi, both of Winner's Circle, of GamblersWorld.net and the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel for that matter. And I'm Ross Benjamin, and you're not. Sometimes, thankfully, you're not, and sometimes you wish you were. Who knows? Whatever day it is. Right now, I think you wish you were me because I'm winning a lot lately. But as Chipper told me last week, I'm streaky just like him. So, but you know what? Over the last 2 months, Chipper, 61% with all sports. So
not bad considering everything.
Yeah, everything. Anyway, Chipper, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. We got our mega bucks in gear. Came up with the Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday, a rout over Kentucky. I think most of the world was looking for the Wildcats to give them a battle after they beat Florida. But Georgia was laying in wait, and they were ready for them. And really happy about that. Early winners, we had Jacksonville here last week. And, of course, we had the easiest winner of the day with Atlanta. And then, of course, what happened Sunday night? Ross, we won't even discuss the Cowboys, will we?
No, man. You know, I got too much positive to talk about, and I certainly don't want to agonize us both because that was I can't remember the last time I made an embarrassing pick so bad that a team was dominated so bad. But in any event, on a positive note, we got Paul Bovi with us, and he's always got something positive to say. Mr. Bovi from Mexico, how are you?
I'm doing great. Expecting a hurricane here today, but hopefully we'll get through this and it won't be too bad. But, you know, we hit our fifth straight free play winner last week, which was Pittsburgh and Baltimore under the total. So I'm proud of that. Unfortunately, not very proud of the 1 and 2 on Saturday. We did have the Utah State game over. And then Sunday, I only had 2 plays posted. We caught line value on each. The loss was the Rams plus the 6 points. There were some injuries during the game, which affected the outcome. They played well in the first half, but unfortunately cratered to the Eagles in the second. But we'll get it right this week, and we'll get back on track and hopefully hit that 6th straight free play winner as I handicap the Eagles and Jets.
Looking forward to hearing what you have to say about that game. And myself, continuing to roll, folks. Football picks overall, 33-14 since September the 14th. It's NFL, college football combined, really especially hot in college football. The last 4 weeks, 20-5, 4-2 last week. Although, Chipper, I did miss on my top play. First one I missed all year. I had A&M plus the points against Bama. I think you did as well, but you didn't have it as a mega bucks play. No. But you know it's going to happen. But I'll take what's going on right now, and then all sports since September 12th, 47-23. Since August the 4th, 95-59, 62%, streaky. Anyway. We're going to talk some NFL today. And any thoughts on what we saw other than that debacle on Sunday night where San Francisco just humbled Dallas to their knees? Any other thoughts you guys want to share on what you saw last week? We'll start with you, Paul.
It was certainly an interesting week in the NFL, and I noticed there was mention of Atlanta, and they got it. It was one of those games where if you took Houston and plus the right number, and you got Atlanta on Sunday at -1.5, you could have won either side. But yeah, that Sunday night game was really alarming, and I have to comment on that because I think we all thought that the Cowboys we anointed them kings of the conference on the strength of that opening win over the Giants, who went down to Miami once again, hung around on the strength of a long interception return, and then Miami blew it open in the second half. But Dallas has really fumbled the ball. They only have wins over the Jets, Giants, and Patriots, and have really been humbled by Arizona and Sunday night against the 49ers. So the Cowboys, it looks like another disappointing year in Dallas. Dak Prescott, 3 interceptions, and that's kind of the highlight of the day, and really disappointing effort by the Cowboys.
Yeah, you should always look at who teams are beaten. And Paul just rattled off 3 teams that Dallas has beaten, and their combined record right now is 4-11. So sometimes you could read between the lines, and that's a good thing to look at. Right now, Dallas just looks like a team that's not as good as people think or thought, and vastly underachieving. Maybe, I don't know. Their defense was supposed to be elite. How elite are they? I mean, Arizona torched them, and so did in this previous game against San Francisco. But San Francisco Chip's torching everybody. So I don't know how much, do we put too much value on that win by San Francisco over there? Meaning, do we throw Dallas under the bridge because of that performance against San Francisco for the rest of the season? Or do we just look at it just its own single entity?
Well, Ross, I'm doing the Dallas game against San Diego Monday night. That's going to be my free pick here. But have the Cowboys been exposed? I mean, look who they opened the season with. The Giants, the Jets, Arizona, and New England. I mean, they didn't play anybody. And all of a sudden, they had this great defensive rating. And Brock Purdy is damn good. I got to tell you that right now. That guy knows how to just put the ball where it's catchable, and he's dropping it in between linebackers and defensive backs. But I think Dak Prescott, to me, has always been a problem. Jerry Jones came this week and said that he's a Super Bowl quarterback. I just don't see it. I don't get it. And another guy that's not a Super Bowl quarterback, and he's got tremendous ratings this year, is Russell Wilson, and I think he's been terrible. I mean, Denver hasn't been anything to speak of course, but he has got a rating of 106. I think it's 3rd or 4th in the league, and it's hard for me to believe after what I witnessed when he doesn't pass the eye test as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, that Denver defense certainly doesn't help their cause. No. They made the Jets look like the second coming of the fastest show on turf. And I just a deplorable defense. And,
right.
The Buffalo game against Jacksonville, you made a nice call on the game. I had indicated I was very fearful of that game for Buffalo for the reasons I mentioned, being Jacksonville playing their second game in a row in Europe, Buffalo coming off that emotional loss. But look, here's the thing. What's even worse than all of that is now you lost another all-pro defender in Matt Milano, down for the year. Looks like Daquan Jones, their starting nose tackle, might be down for the year. The week before, you lose Tre'Davious White. And what can you do? And that defense got torched last week for over 450 yards, Paul. And Buffalo only had the ball for 21 minutes, and Josh Allen still threw for 359 yards. So it's a bit concerning to me, Paul. When you handicap Buffalo going forward, you certainly have to consider that, correct?
Listen, I pinpointed this at the beginning of the year. Now, Milano has been injury prone for the last 4 years. I know he had a pectoral problem and went out a few games. So it was kind of you're waiting for the shoe to drop here, because they had several guys in the secondary that were on the north side of 30. And then you had injury-prone players. Tre'Davious White was off an injury. They're going to have some issues. Now, they opened up a 15-point favorite against the Giants, and the number actually has come down. And I think in large part because of the defense. And if Daniel Jones could get any kind of protection, the Giants could actually put some points on the board if, in fact, Daniel Jones does play. He went out with a neck injury. But I think Buffalo definitely is going to have some problems going forward, and they're going to have to rely on Josh Allen putting up a lot of points going forward for them to compete for the AFC.
Well, he's totally capable of doing that, as long with in the offense as well. But you got to have the ball for more than 21 minutes. Yeah. That's not going to cut it. Your defense has to get off the field at times. And I don't know how many times Jacksonville converted on a 3rd and 6 or longer to sustain drives in that loss. So, again, very concerning from a Buffalo Bills standpoint. But we see, and talk about an aging secondary. You got 2 safeties in Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, north of 30 years old. And then they go out and they pick up Josh Norman this week, 35 years old. How excited am I about that?
Oh, my God.
Not very. Anyway, Chipper, let's talk your game, buddy. We talked about the Cowboys. We lambasted them a little bit earlier. They're at the Chargers. Dallas, despite last week's showing, still a 2-point favorite on the road against a formidable opponent in the Chargers. In the total 51, talk about a team struggling defensively. The Chargers have seemed to be stuck in that mode for a couple of years now. Chipper, what's your take on this one?
Well, you know what an enigma the Chargers are? They seem to have all the flash and the scoring, and Herbert's one of the leading quarterbacks in the NFL, and yet they just don't seem to deliver. They don't come through with big wins. Maybe it's the coaching. There seems a lot of problem. They opened against Miami and got absolutely blown out and crushed. Went as the favorite to Tennessee and got beat there, but now they've rebounded. They beat Minnesota, and of course they beat Vegas. And now they've had 2 weeks to get ready for Dallas. After watching Dallas on Sunday night, I think they have to maybe approaching this game with a lot of confidence. But I think the offense is the way they have to go. Defensively, they don't stop anybody. They're averaging 26 or 27.5 points a game, giving up 26. Dallas is averaging 27 points a game. And, their defense was ranked so high. But like I said, they started against the Giants, and they started against the Jets, and they started against New England. And their defense, of course, was going to look good. Those numbers look very impressive. And now they finally played an offense. Shocking the way this team who had 2 playoff losses, to come back against the Niners and not be more prepared. Dallas, this is on Sunday night. You and I both misread that game completely. I thought that we might have them as a right side, but they certainly didn't show up for us. This game, I think, goes over the total. The totals for the Dallas games have been 43, 45, 43, 39, 44. Now it's 50. I think the odds makers are telling you they're going to try and put up some points. Prescott's only 5 TDs in 5 games and 4 interceptions. Herbert, of course, is going to put up a lot of yards. He always does. And I think this game goes over the total. San Diego's defense isn't strong enough to stop even the Dallas offense, which can't score against the Niners. I think it goes over the total.
And you can always count on this head coach from the Chargers going for it on 4th down from his own 25-yard line late in the game with the lead, or he just makes ridiculous decisions that seem to backfire, and he gets bailed out. And one of these times he's going to get it's going to burn him because there's been a couple occasions over the last couple games for the Chargers where he's gone for it inside his own 30 late in the 4th quarter with a lead and didn't make it, and somehow got bailed out by interceptions, once in the end zone and once inside the 10-yard line. So, Paul, this guy's a real bonehead. By the way, folks, that's Chipper's pick, is our official pick on that game, which is Dallas and the Chargers over 51. Paul, your thoughts on that matchup or anything else regarding that? I don't know what you want to call that head coach, how you want to describe him.
All right, so I'm going to leave the comments about the head coach out of it, but only to say that the number at 50 makes sense because any game that the Chargers are involved in, and this is post-opening Miami game where they scored, I believe, into the 70s, we know the Chargers are largely a higher scoring team as they give up points and they tend to score points. So I think that's where this number is coming from. And the books made the right number. The problem for the Chargers is the same as it's been in years past. Injuries. They've already been bitten with the bug. They lost a key receiver for the year. Their all-star running back, all-world running back, Eckler, he's been on the shelf at least one game. He might be out yet again. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball, and Bosa's out, and Derwin James was out, and he's questionable here. So they can't win if they continue to take these hits. And then on the offensive line, you lose an all-pro center in Lindsley. Now he's out. So you wonder how good the protection's going to be. for Justin Herbert, who's now nursing a broken finger on his non-throwing hand. I think there'll probably be points because I don't have the confidence that the Chargers will be able to stop Dallas. Dallas, I think, should feast on this defense, especially if Bosa and Derwin James are out. Derwin James is a very good player. I mean, he's their safety, and I think he anchors that defense, at least in the secondary. So I'm going to say that I agree with Chip. I think you'll see a higher scoring game here. Dak Prescott will bounce back against a softer opponent. You'll see some points, and this will probably get into the high 50s.
Yep. And again, that receiver you're referring to is Mike Williams, which was a big loss for them, but they're pretty deep at the wide receiver position. And Keenan Allen, doesn't matter double coverage or not, he seems to always come up with 8 to 10 catches a game. I'm being a little bit sarcastic when I say that, but he always seems to be very, very productive regardless of the situation. My big concern when it comes to the over is are they going to be able to protect Herbert? Because say what you will with Dallas, San Francisco's one thing because they got a potent run game and they keep you honest in that regard when you have to defend them. But when you don't have a strong run game like the Chargers do, and then you got a quarterback who's going to be playing with a broken finger on his left hand, which means that I'm highly, highly doubtful thinking that he's going to line up under center at any time. So he's going to be in the shotgun the whole game. We'll see what happens. By all rights, I agree with both of you guys. This should be a high-scoring game, but I'm not quite as sold as both of you on that. But in any event, we'll see what transpires. Eagles and Jets. Jets coming off a win. What's the world coming to, Chip? The Jets are a 6.5-point dog at home against the Eagles, the mighty Eagles, Jim Quinn's Eagles, who continue to burn me because as good a year as I have, the 2 times I went against them is the 2 times they covered. Last week against Arizona and then the game against Tampa Bay. Doesn't matter what I think. It matters what Paul Bovi thinks because he's the big shot on campus, the wise guy, the guy with the big wallet.
Wow.
We want to know what he's going to think on this game.
Well, if I was that big of a wise guy, I would have gotten off my Rams +6 on Sunday. I actually did get off some of it live wagering -3.5, had a shot for a middle, but it didn't work out. But I think we have to avoid as gamblers being prisoners of the moment. Now, the Eagles went into Sunday's game 4-0, and it was a very suspect 4-0. They had beaten the Patriots by 5 to open the season. They took a commanding lead largely on the strength of turnovers. Then you had the nationally televised game where they defeated the Vikings by 6. And by all rights, Minnesota could have won. There was a turnover at or near the goal line, which actually flipped the script in the game. And then they beat Washington by 3. Ron Rivera eschewed the 2-point conversion, elected to kick the point. It went to overtime, and the Eagles win the game. Their pass rush this year has not been as good, as solid as it was last year. Fletcher Cox was out of the game on Sunday, by the way. Their secondary has not been great. They've really struggled with slot receivers. Cooper Kupp came back off injury on Sunday. I believe he had 8 catches for 118 yards. And the Eagles basically had a free roll. They were throwing to Dallas Goedert. The Rams weren't covering them. But I got to give a lot of credit to Philadelphia because they had long, sustained drives in the second half, 10, 15, and 17 yards, and maintained control of the ball to cover up their defense, which has not been great. But they did get a pass rush on Matt Stafford, okay? They sacked him several times, and I think the key to that was that offensive tackle, left tackle, Joe Noteboom, was out for the Rams. He's their best player on the offensive line. Then they lost a backup, Shelton, during the game, and in the second half, they could not protect Matt Stafford. I think we are overrating the Eagles here a little bit based on their play and their record. Their play has not been great. Their play was not great on Sunday. They were trailing 17-14 at halftime, and the Jets have played much better football, and that includes, believe it or not, Zach Wilson, who was a very respectable 19 of 26 against a horrible defense on Sunday, but still, he only turned the ball over on an interception once, and that is actually being kind because normally in the past he was very turnover prone. But I've noticed he's done a better job getting rid of the football and protecting it and looking off receivers. And I just think the Jets are going to compete here, and you can laugh all you want, but I really do believe they have a shot to win this game on Sunday at home. So I'm going to take the Jets with the points and sprinkle on the money line as well.
So Paul likes the Jets plus the 6.5 over the Eagles. And we're sponsored by Gamblers World, owned by Mr. Jim Quinn out of Philadelphia. And Paul, you're officially fired. Anyway, no, only kidding. In any event, you make a compelling case. I'm ready to go to the window and take the Jets to win the Super Bowl right now after that analysis. But in any event, Chipper, your thoughts?
I don't think the Jets have as good a defense as everyone seems to think they have. They keep calling them an elite defense, and I haven't seen it. I don't think they're up to par for what they were last season. I think they were very fortunate to beat Denver. Denver fumbled the punt. Like you said, Russell Wilson gave up one interception, but he also gave up scores by he just doesn't have the quickness and elusiveness that he's had previously, and he isn't able to get away from some of these linemen. He goes down easily is what I'm trying to say, and there were times when he could have gained a little more yardage. I'm not big on Denver here. I think the Jets are in a great position against Philadelphia. Philadelphia's cruising along. They've been beating everyone right along, and they may not have the full attention of the Jets this week. They may be actually looking ahead a little bit, thinking about how the Jets have been just so awful on offense. Really, I mean, Zach Wilson, he had a decent game 2 days. I mean, his game against Denver was pedestrian. It wasn't all that great. But I think the Jets are in a great spot here. I really do, and I think it's off the fact of the way Philadelphia's been winning and who the Jets are.
Well, I mean, Zach Wilson is showing signs of improvement over the last two games. We will give him that.
They're getting the ball. He's getting the ball real quick, Ross. As composer before, they said he had so much time. He had more time than anyone else, probably because he was rolling out or running around. But the Jet offense has changed and made some adjustments. So he's getting rid of the ball real quick and making his decisions real fast.
Well, if Breece Hall goes for 175 like he did last week, I think the Jets will have an excellent opportunity not only to stay in this game, but like Paul said, possibly pull the upset. I'm not willing to go out on a limb at this point on this game. I think I'm going to be using this as a premium pick, so I'm going to reserve comment on that contest. But, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda. You're just privy to, I'm a little biased when I say this, but the best sports betting podcast on the internet today. Chip Chirimbes, Paul Bovi, Sean Higgs, Jesse Schule, Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Great handicappers, myself as well. And not only are we giving you free winners on this channel, we're giving you plenty of sports betting advice, specifically football advice at this time of year, and all with the goal of making you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. You'll see that WC logo. If you're watching on your PC, just hit that. That'll get you subscribed. If you're on your mobile device, a black subscribe button underneath the video box, click on that, and that'll get you going. And by the way, 14% of you out there are watching on your smart TVs, because they know they could see a handsome guy like Chip and Mr. Mexico, the wise guy from Mexico, Mr. Paul Bovi, on the big screen. So in any event, folks, the moral to the story is subscribe and then go into your YouTube settings. If you haven't already, if you've already subscribed and you haven't done this, and if you do subscribe, please take a second to do one extra step. That's go into your YouTube settings, hit that alert notification bell, and that will notify you immediately upon any of our sports betting podcasts going up on our channel. All right, let me get to my game, which is San Francisco and Cleveland. San Fran -5 and 37. You know, this whole thing with Deshaun Watson it's looking more and more like a soap opera every week. Last week, he decided he was going to pull himself out after warming up an hour before the game, much against the Cleveland Brass's chagrin. And they laid an egg against Baltimore at home with a rookie quarterback. And what can you say? He is listed as probable. And in the 3 starts he has made for Cleveland, they've averaged 25.7 points per game. His last outing against Tennessee being his best on September 24th, when he went 27 out of 33 for 289, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's run for 83 yards and a touchdown. So make no mistake, say what you will about Deshaun Watson and his off-the-field issues. When the guy's on the field, he makes Cleveland a better offense than they are without him. Cleveland's defense has been superb, but they faced low-scoring teams. If you really consider, here's who they played so far. Pittsburgh, number 30 in scoring offense. Cincinnati, number 28 in scoring offense. Tennessee, number 26 in scoring offense. And the highest ranked among them all was last week against Baltimore, number 17, and they gave up 28 points in that game. Of course, 7 came, I believe, via interception return. Having said that, San Francisco is in another class offensively. We've seen that from the start of the season. This is a San Francisco team that has scored 30 points or more in all 5 games this year. Dating back last year, they have now scored 30-plus points in 8 straight regular season games in 10 of their last 11 regular season games. They've compiled 395 yards or more in 4 or 5 games this year. I know that I made light of Cleveland's accomplishments defensively this year, and that's not how it was intended. It's just I don't think they're as good a defense statistically as they've shown because of the level of competition in the offenses they've played. This week is going to be an extreme challenge for them. Great running game for San Francisco. Great off play action pass. And, you know, I mentioned guys last week, Brock Purdy. When do we start entering him into that elite category conversation? I know it's still young in his career. He only played, I believe he started 10 games last year, something like that. Whatever the case may be, this guy, when he's on the field, he's productive and he's efficient and he's accurate. But anyway, getting back to this pick, when I got a team that scored 30 points or more in their last 8 regular season games and 10 of the last 11, and the total's 37, usually I'll say the odds makers are trying to trick us. I'm not going to overthink this one. I'm going over 37, San Francisco, Cleveland. Paul?
I'm ready to call my legal bookmaker and make a bet on the over because, Ross, you sold me. And it makes a lot of sense. Everything you said makes a lot of sense. San Francisco has been a juggernaut on offense. There's no question about that. And yes, I agree. Cleveland has taken on, from the perspective of offenses, a very soft schedule. That whole division is leaves a lot to be desired. Hopefully the Bengals get back on track, and it looks like maybe they are based on Sunday's performance, but there hasn't been a lot of offense there, and they've been privy to taking on inferior competition. So it makes sense because the number at 37 is lined very low considering the quarterbacks. And you make a good point about Watson. He was out last game and Robinson was in, and that was a failed experiment. And you got to figure Cleveland's going to be a lot better. And you have to also consider that they're off a bye week, and more than likely Watson will play, and you'll have more scoring here. So I'm going to side with the guy that's 92 and 59 over the last however many picks, and I'm going to go over the total here.
Very good, Paul. I appreciate your kind words. And it wasn't really an experiment the last game for Cleveland. It was that he refused to play Watson. You know, he said his right shoulder wasn't up to snuff. and he wasn't going to play an hour before game time. So whatever case it may be, my question to you, Chipper, is I mentioned this, and Paul, if you want to comment on it after, feel welcome to do so. When do we start entering Brock Purdy into the conversation when it comes to elite quarterbacks? I'm not ready to ordain him as a Hall of Famer, Chip, right? But right now, this current cast of NFL quarterbacks, you can't tell me there's 5 better quarterbacks in the NFL right now than Brock Purdy.
I'm with you, Ross. I mean, I think the kid's a winner. I think he's a player, and we have to give him this season, see how it plays out with the Niners. And you know, I mean, he gets hurt last year in the postseason. That's kind of sinful. Who knows what would have happened against the Eagles? Sorry, Jim, but you know, it's there. I'm at a loss here with this because I don't know if Cleveland is going to be playing this quarterback from UCLA. There's Robinson, extraordinary names lined up. I don't think he's a player. And if Watson can't get out there, I think Cleveland's in trouble. The thing I remember is I think these two teams played during the pandemic 3 years ago at Cleveland, and the Browns dominated the Niners. They ran the ball right down their throat that game. I don't know if you guys remember it, and they really had full control of that game, and it made such an impression with me. I said, boy, this Cleveland team is going to be really, really tough. And then, of course, things started falling apart with injuries and quarterbacks leaving and things along those lines. Watson's got to play for me in this game. Otherwise, it's hard for me to even make any kind of decision because I don't think Robinson can play at all.
The only question mark I have, and you make a good point, Chip, is because it goes hand in hand what I'm about to ask Paul. Yesterday morning, this total is 40. Now it's 37. Should we read into that a little bit in terms of quarterback availability, or is that what you would consider a sharp move to the under?
If you're asking me,
your name is Paul, right?
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. First of all, let me comment. Okay. Let me comment on that, and then I'll comment on Purdy. I did not check the weather for Sunday yet, but I do know there are some weather conditions in a few of these college games that could affect the scoring. I know Notre Dame, 10 to 20 mile an hour winds. So there could be some of that involved there. Now, as far as Purdy goes, look, I'm the guy, I take a wait and see attitude on these quarterbacks, and I'll tell you why. Look at a guy like RG3, first year, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, or something like that. Dak Prescott, also another guy that peaked in year 1. Now, for all intents and purposes, I consider Brock Purdy still kind of in year 1. He didn't have a full season last year, so I'm going to take a wait and see attitude to see if this is sustainable. And I do know he's going to be facing some pressure this week in Myles Garrett. And that's going to go a long way in, I think, determining what we can expect from Brock Purdy when he faces a great deal of pressure. Some of those passes on Sunday, I give him a lot of credit for, but some of them were just Dallas's secondary. And we all know they lost a starter and a key starter earlier in the year, but their secondary was atrocious. Some of those passes were being actually floated, and that's the telltale sign of a secondary that is lacking, that you can float passes in there and they're settling into the midst of these receivers, and it just wasn't good. I want to see more out of Brock Purdy. As far as the move, I have to check the weather because that is an extensive move on such a low total.
It certainly is. And again, remember, folks, we're doing these picks early in the week. Today is Tuesday. The games don't go until Sunday that we're discussing. So keep that in mind because these lines we're giving out today are subject to change depending on when you view the video. Chip, you had something you wanted to add?
Not really. I'm just like Paul said, I think the jury's still out. You have to get a little bit more sample size. But Purdy throws a very catchable ball. I mean, that ball, it just seems to land soft. Like you said, it lands in the receiver's hands, and he seems to be able to arc it over the defenders. And I like the kid. I think he's got a great future.
Yeah. And again, I ask a legitimate question. It's not like I'm ready to ordain him. But right now, as we speak, with the current cast of quarterbacks in the NFL, and based on what we saw until he got hurt last year, it doesn't seem to be a fluke at this point. But Paul brought up a perfect example: Dak Prescott in year one, RG3. We've seen several examples like that where quarterbacks look terrific over a short period of time, but it was unsustainable. Anyway, all three of us you could find at gamblersworld.net, folks. It's there where we guarantee our selections. You must win, or we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. And that includes all single game and daily game packages, as well as subscription plans of 30 days or less. Chipper's been on fire in Major League Baseball, and he's been on fire for a while in Major League Baseball, as I recall. And right now, you can get Chip's MLB postseason package for $199, which will carry you right through the World Series. But anyway, Chip, I don't want to steal your thunder. Tell the folks what you might have coming up this week and anything else they should know about.
Well, thank you, Ross. And by the way, we are 17-6 for our last 23 top plays, our top rated plays in Major League Baseball. That's over a 3.5 week span, of course, one game a day. And, finally, Ross, after a spotty September, if not one of the worst ones I've ever had, our megabucks are in gear. And one thing we have maintained is our standalone winners still winning 2 out of 3 once again this week. And that's over now a 3-year period. So I like the sample size there. Our Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night games have been outrageous. And now the megabuck plays are coming in the fold. So you're going to get at least 3, if not 5 games on Saturday and Sunday led by a megabuck winner, and possibly even game of the years or game of the months, which we haven't posted yet. And last year, we were 8-1.
Very good, Chipper. You can find Chip again at gamblersworld.net. He's been around for a long time. You don't last a long time unless you're successful in this business. Paulie, anything you want to share with the audience, and why should they spend their hard-earned money on what I tab to be a real-life wise guy? And I mean that with all sincerity. Tell the folks why they should spend their money with you.
Well, again, we're going for 6-0 on these free plays, and I hope you'll follow me on that Jet game. But I'm also going to post at least 4 other NFL games. I went light this past Sunday, but I'm going to go heavier this upcoming Sunday, and I'll have 3 plays on Saturday. And in the end, I win. I always get them. So expect to cash some tickets here. There's a couple plays that I really like. I have one up there now. I always post something early in the week because I'm capitalizing on line moves. So I think you should take a look at this on Monday, because 9 out of 10 times I'm going to catch the move. Like last week, I caught the move on the Ram game, which I posted at +6. It ended up going down to as low as 3.5. And I caught the move on the Texans game at 3.5. I actually came back on Atlanta on the money line at -130, but I really like the 3.5 because I like the lowest scoring game decided by a field goal or less, and it proved to be the right side in both respects. So catch those early ones, catch the line move, the closing line value, as a lot like to call it, and I'll have 4 other NFL plays that I think offer a lot of promise, and we'll cash some tickets.
Here's another thing, folks. Both of these guys, they just gave you the rundown on how many plays they're going to have this weekend in college football and the NFL. 3-day package, $99. You get it Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Either one of these guys or both for $99. That's it. And if they don't make a profit by chance, you're going to get $99 credited to your account again. You could use them again, or you could use anybody else at the site. So again, folks, I don't know what you're waiting for. We have 10 of the finest handicappers in the country on that site. I have to put a star on my forehead because I'm one of them. Football overall, 33-14 since September 14th. I know I said that already, but I want to say it again because I want that to get through your skull. 33-14 NFL college football combined. Last 4 weeks in college football, 20-5. All documented, not only on our site, but on every other site I post at. And then all of my sports selections, 47-23 since September 12th, 95-59 since August the 4th. Yes, that's 151 selections, Paul. I'll do the math for you.
Hey,
So,
listen, I
there you have
really,
it.
I apologize to you because I did say 92 and 59. So I
That's
take my hat
okay.
off. Let me correct that misprint. I'm sorry. In other words, I didn't give you full credit. Okay,
No, you don't
95
have,
and 59.
you don't have to apologize. My buddy Chipper, I asked you about Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
When do we put him in the elite conversation? When do you take me out of that streaky conversation? Anyway, don't worry about it, Chip. Yeah, I know you like to give me a hard time. I love you, buddy. In any event, for Paul Bovi, Chip Chirimbes, Ross Benjamin, we ask you hit that like button underneath. It's just a small token of your appreciation for all the work, time, and effort we put into this podcast to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. And that's what it's all about. But God bless and take care, folks.